It's been a number of years since Brendan Parnell fronted Bred To Win, but it's a pleasure to have the now CEO of Racing Queensland back on the program. I caught up with Brendan to find out some of the positive progress taking place in racing and breeding in Queensland as the winter carnival hits full stride.
Bred To Win opener in 3, 2... Hi there, welcome along to a very special edition of Bred To Win.
Brendan, it's great having the founder of Bred To Win back on Bred To Win. Thanks for joining us. And you more than anyone know the importance of explaining the breeding industry to anyone involved in racing.
Yeah, it's a pleasure being back on, Caroline. Thanks after 23 years since it was commenced back in 1996. Yeah, the breeding industry is the foundation, isn't it? And I mean, when you look at the form, I still look at the form, I still look at the breeding. It has such an interrelationship, whether it's a wet tracker, it's a really good sprinter, it's a sturdy horse that's been in work for a while. The pedigree does underpin it, although I got reminded by Ken Callender often that Dawn Fraser's sister couldn't swim that well, so he used to rub that in a little.
But it is still something that I think generally punters are interested in. So in your role with Racing Queensland now, you're obviously looking to support the breeders within Queensland as well. It all helps race fields and it all helps the turnover dollar.
Oh, it does, and the industry in Queensland's been through some tough times a few years ago with funding cuts, prize money cuts, and Glen Logan ceasing its stallion operations. But in recent years, the increase in prize money, it's great to see some promising young sires like Spirit of Boom coming through, and we're now starting to see some green shoots of being more competitive with other states, because the breeding industry is a whole ecosystem in itself. It creates jobs, it creates local investment, whether it's farriers, livestock transporters, food providers. So it's a bigger system that sits out to the side that provides the horses for race day. And I guess,
having Aquis up here as well. So there is still new investment coming in, both locally and overseas. And obviously the people that do have the farms are really looking to invest and get better mares to those stallions.
That's correct. Now that more money's flowing back into the industry and the viability issue is being resolved, you're seeing reinvestment. Aquis have made a remarkable investment in the Sunshine State. And one of their young sires hopefully will kick the goals that we've seen Spirit of Boom do. And you're now seeing the McAlpine family really doubling down on reinvesting in Eureka Stud, new infrastructure, new barns, and they're able to afford to do so because of the success they're having.
It's so important, isn't it, we know obviously, to have government behind racing and breeding. And how much is the government sort of understanding, and your dealings with them obviously more of a racing level, but do they really understand how enormous the industry is, the breeding side of the industry?
They do. I think the government in Queensland under Anastasia Palaszczuk has really appreciated the size and scale of $1.2 billion of economic contribution. Most of that, or almost half of that, sorry, in regional areas. A lot of that is farming. 41,000 people involved, and when they understand the scale and size of the industry, including breeding, they really appreciate what we're contributing back to the economy.
And you have a lot of new initiatives that you're embracing with through Racing Queensland. How are some of those directly impacting on the breeding industry?
Well, QTIS, our thoroughbred breeding incentive scheme, is a jewel for us, and I use, pardon the pun, jewel. We run a QTIS Jewel race day in March on the Gold Coast, aligned with the QTIS sale, and this year the 2-year-old race is worth $500,000. So an incentive to buy Queensland and race in Queensland. The 3-year-old's worth $200,000. The overall day is worth over $1.5 million if you've got a QTIS eligible horse. So you can have an open class horse in the gold market, and if you win, you get double the prize money if you're a QTIS horse. Next year we'll take that to a new level. Aquis have been great supporters of the day. That's one example. Our QTIS bonuses are available right up the coast. So as a 2- and 3-year-old, you'll be able to chase more incentive money when the horses are older in the north of the state as well.
The breeders' bonuses, we're seeing some of them coming in. Is that something you're looking to sort of modify QTIS, after the next lot of what's already set in stone?
Yeah, that's one. It's an interesting point. There's a lot of options we've got to enhance QTIS. We'll sit down with the breeders, work those through, make sure we agree what they should be. But examples such as the southern schemes, where we're not ever going to be a Hunter Valley, but we can be in our unique place in the climate, the weather, the horses do well here. How do we provide a competitive and vibrant breeding industry? That'll be a key part of the focus.
Obviously, you're very engaged with, Katie Page, Jerry Harvey, with Magic Millions, and that's another obviously great, massive sort of industry within Queensland, having so many international people coming, the tourism dollar with these big sales. But how's the relationship there? Are there things you're working on with Magic Millions from the Racing Queensland perspective?
It's a hot topic at the moment, Caroline. Absolutely. The sale in January is internationally renowned. 47,000 bed nights it creates on Gold Coast visitors. But when you add in May, a lot of people don't know how big May is. You'd appreciate the 2 weeks of selling and the volume of horses that are sold. So over a year, more than 66,000 bed nights happen on the Gold Coast because of the sales in January and March and May, and how we can then take this fantastic week at the Gold Coast to a whole new level is a key part of the discussions.
And there's also looking at, I guess, the track, the Gold Coast racetrack. There's so much work going on there.
Yeah, so the aim will eventually be to put lights on the Gold Coast track, and then we can work with Magic Millions on running some feature races in the twilight or the cooler part of the day in summer. And it's a great spectacle, and obviously international markets would then be able to see the glitter strip of the Gold Coast under lights, all part of a fantastic sales week.
You've obviously always been passionate about the industry and pedigrees and so on, and you are a breeder yourself. You've bred some large horses, but it does often trace back to pedigree, doesn't it? Even if it's not necessarily a commercially bred horse. Tell me about your success with one particular mare you've had who's produced a stack of winners for you.
Yeah, and I've been very fortunate. Myself, a really good mate of mine and our respective wives, bought a cheap broodmare years ago, but I always loved the Manswood bloodline. So originally he stood at Emirates Park Stud. He's a Northern Dancer horse out of Balade, so glorious song, some absolute rock stars of racing and breeding in the pedigree. So I bought a cheap little broodmare, and she went on to produce a number of multiple winners for us over the years. Not doing it commercially, just doing it on matching up with size we thought which would be compatible. I've had a couple of Metro wins, won the first race on the new Rockhampton racetrack with one of her granddaughters, won a couple of country cups, but it's just the fun. But being able to match pedigrees and from a passion of mine. And yeah, we had a joyous journey. The last of them is a 2-year-old this season, which we'd sold the mare by that stage, so we don't own her unfortunately, but a keen fan of seeing how she goes.
Absolutely, and that's what it is all about, isn't it? It's not only the top end that people see, the whiz-bang, huge dollars. This passion for trying to breed an athlete, it's what it's all about.
Oh, it's amazing. Actually, one of the things we've recently announced, you asked about initiatives for breeding and owning. We've launched a trade marketing partnership with My Runners, so giving you the chance to have a premium racehorse ownership experience, so expensive yearling, but at an affordable price. So it's micro syndication. And already they've purchased at Magic Millions January sales, purchasing at the March Cuter sales, and the aim is to buy Queensland and back Queensland when you race your horses.
Oh, well, good luck with it all, because if racing and breeding's thriving in Queensland, it's thriving everywhere, isn't it?
Hopefully we're part of a healthy ecosystem.